Hi guys! I'm filming in the same spot as I filmed the Weird Facts About Me video. If I jump around a little bit in this story, it's because I don't have anything written down. I randomly decided to film this video today, and hopefully I'll get as many details as I possibly can in this video, so you can know exactly how I ended up getting 2 cars and I'm only 20. I should start off by saying that I did not get a car whenever I turned 16. I didn't even have my license when I turned 16, but that's another story. I got my license when I was 17. My parents did conveniently buy a car when I was about 16 or 17 to practice driving with. It was not my car, technically, but it was my parents' car, and I used it to drive because I refused to drive a van or anything bigger than a Honda Accord. And so this car was a Honda Accord. I learned how to drive in this car, and I took my license tests, plural, in this car. Graduated high school whenever I was 18, and on my graduation day, my parents gave me a card that basically said that the car was mine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. Those of you that know me know that my luck is not the best. After getting this blue Honda Accord for graduation, I drove it a little bit during the summer, but not very much. It seemed okay at first whenever I started driving it, but after a while I had some issues, and that is why I cannot drive it now. The first incident I can remember with the car was summer of 2015, so the summer right after I got it. I was at home and my mom called to say that she and my brother were stuck on the road with a flat tire and could I come and pick them up. So of course, obviously, I'm gonna come and pick them up. So I close up the house, get in the car, and go to turn it on. It turns on just fine, but it was sitting kind of on a hill. It's like a slant about like that. A slight hill, nothing too dramatic, nothing like this, but it was at kind of a slant. The car starts rolling down the hill. No matter how hard I press my brakes, the car will not stop rolling. Granted, it's only rolling a tiny inch by inch, and it's just about to come off the sidewalk whenever I manage to hit the brake, and the brake finally works. I decided that I'm going to decide to reverse it and go back up the hill and then go out of my driveway. Well, the only problem with that is the car decided to lock the steering wheel on me, and that was the first time a steering wheel had ever locked on me. I felt so bad that I couldn't go and get my mom and brother, but I wasn't able to drive the car. Later on, my dad comes home, cranks the car up, and just decides to drive it and see if it'll work. Has absolutely no problem with it. It does absolutely nothing wrong. So I was like, okay, maybe it was a one-time incident. Maybe it was me, because usually it's me. I had like incidents in between. Random lights would cut on and cut off at random times, and you never knew if something was actually wrong with the car or if the car was just deciding that it wanted to cut lights on. This was the actual first incident where one of my parents was in the car with me. September, October-ish, when my mom and I were going to drive me back to college in the car, and she was driving, and it started making this really, really weird noise. It's really, really hard to explain. It's like the pistons in the engine. It would turn and turn and turn. It was like a jerk in between every turn. Like if you stopped the car, it was going to cut off. And we were in the middle of the highway. We were keeping our fingers crossed that it was not going to stop on us while we were on the highway. And of course, after we got off the highway, we had a few stoplights, and we did not want to get stuck in the middle of an intersection either. But thankfully, we made it all the way back to college, and my mom called a tow truck and we towed it off and shipped it to our mechanic and let them try and see if they could figure out what was wrong with it. I think it sat at the mechanic's office for a good month or 2. They ended up not being able to find a single thing wrong with that car. They said that they would drive it and it would be just fine, and they eventually decide that they're going to put a new, like a computer in it that controls everything in the car. So they put an entirely new computer system in the car. My parents bring it back home and they say it drives just fine. That car had clearly had the original CD player replaced. So what was in place of the CD player and the radio was like a skinny little box about like this thick, and it worked okay before we took it to the mechanic the first time for like the starting and stopping issues. Whenever I got it back, it had popped out and refused to go back in its little slot. So in order to play music, you had to physically push the entire radio and CD player system inside the car and hold it there if you wanted to play the radio or a CD. At one point I had duct tape over top of it so it would kind of play music, but then when the duct tape became unsticky it would cut off the radio. So then I didn't have a radio in the car. I can't quite remember exact incidents because so much crap happened to me while I was in that car. Thank God I never wrecked it. It just did not want to work with me. Sometimes it'll start, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will act like it's not gonna start, sometimes it will. Overall, it seems to be fine, but then whenever I try to drive it, it doesn't want to do anything. Despite having a brand new computer system, it's still doing the same stuff. I've basically come to the conclusion that this car hates me specifically because somehow leaves got inside of the air conditioner. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that's even possible. My dad was driving and I was sitting in the passenger seat and he cut on the air and it spit like leaves and dirt at me. I'm sure there are stories and things I'm forgetting about the car, but all of those things combined meant that it was not going to be a reliable car for me to take with me, even though it was considered my car. On the 18th of February, my mom showed up in a CRV that she said was mine, so now I have gone through one car already and I'm only 20. Because the one car absolutely hated me, and it still hates me. I bet if I were to try and drive it today, it would hate me. I'm hoping I will have better luck with my new car than I did with my first one. I'm gonna leave a little poll over here in this little eye. Might be over here, not sure which one. But it's a little I button, and if you click on that, it will pop up a tiny little poll that you can take, and I'm gonna leave some questions in there about the story and how you felt about it. I will see you guys next video. Bye!